Hello,
Hello,
everybody.
welcome. It's Wednesday again, and guess where we are? You are?
We're watching Get Down and Dirty Talking Art with Calibri the artist
And
and
Debbie LeBrad.
that's
We
right.
are here. We're very excited this evening.
Yes, we
We have a
are.
fantastic guest.
Mhm.
We have a wonderful guest.
Yes, we have the director of arts and culture at our city's Detroit Arts and Culture and Entrepreneurial Department, author, and just a little bit of everything.
Yes.
Mrs. Rochelle Riley.
Yes, we're so excited and so honored to have her. It's just like she's just so much Detroit.
Hello, how are you?
Good to have you.
I love that top, by the way. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. I believe in color, as you can see from all my artwork in the back.
I love it. Yeah, we all decided to all wear the same colors: black and gold, black and gold, and black and gold.
I got the memo.
Got the memo. I love it.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, for viewers that are tuning in, again, this is our Director of Arts and Culture, Mrs. Rochelle Riley from the City of Detroit. Would you mind telling us a bit about who you are and what it is you do? Because you're a very important person to know as an artist in Detroit.
Yes.
Well, I am thrilled to tell you that my job is literally to make sure that the City of Detroit is never without an Office of Arts and Culture. We didn't have one for over 20 years. And when Mayor Mike Duggan asked me to do this, I said, absolutely. It's the only job in city government that I would take. As a former journalist who covered government, I wanted to do something that fit with what I was doing in my post-journalism career. So I oversee the city's investment in the arts. I oversee the care and feeding and nurturing of our creative workforce. And I make sure that we provide arts and culture and history and entrepreneurial training to people wherever they live all around the city.
It's wonderful.
Love it.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah,
that artist opportunities, what that spells out is opportunity.
Opportunity rising in Detroit. That's right.
Right. Everybody get on board.
That's right.
Because Detroit is coming. We're here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of opportunity, we're going into Black History Month, and you were saying that you actually have a lot happening, starting with prior to that, but with Black History Month.
Right.
Could you tell us about what's happening in Detroit for 2022 and in February?
Yeah.
We have so much coming up in arts, culture, and history in the city of Detroit over the next year that it's just going to blow people's minds. I can tell you that we're going to start the first day of Black History Month with the first official lecture of our official city historian, Jamon Jordan, who works in my office and who the mayor appointed a couple of months ago. He is brilliant. He knows Detroit history like the back of his hand, and we are going to celebrate all that Detroit has been and will be, because we need to up the pride about who we've been, not just as a city, but to our state. And he's going to do some of that. So that's how we're going to kick it off. But then we have some very special partnerships with some arts groups across the city who are going to be presenting programming on Channel 22, which we turned into Detroit A&E. You're going to get to see performances, spoken word, music, all kinds of things like we did last year. And we're going to use February to make some very special announcements that we had planned in January, but we pushed back because of COVID and because I'm recuperating from pneumonia. So we're going to be announcing the new Detroit Council of the Arts. We're going to be announcing who the new poet laureate is. And we're going to be announcing a major project that we're going to be paying for with American Rescue Plan Act funds. So for people who want to know how some of that money is being spent with the City Council's blessings, we've got some serious projects coming.
Wonderful.
Wait.
I've actually been trying to keep track of that. I was telling my grandmother about that the day before yesterday. I'm like, we got a fund happening. And I was explaining to her that you're someone that helps direct where those funds go and keeps us abreast of what's happening. So thank you.
There is so much that's coming that I'm so excited about. Oh, and there was one other thing. We announced a couple of months ago the Detroit ACE Honors, where we're honoring, just like the Kennedy Center does, artists, whether they're creative, fine and performing artists, all of them, who have given creative excellence to the city over 25 years. We're going to be showcasing those folks. So people know who they are, and they're going to be getting medals just like you do for the Kennedy Center. But what you're going to see is
their story. It's so exciting. Where would the people, like, if people are tuning in right now, where can they go to find out all this information?
DetroitArtsandCulture.com, DetroitMI.gov/ACE. If you go to your city website, We are revamping that website so that there's so much about it that is covering everything that we're doing in the city. This Opportunity Rising campaign that the mayor has started is about how we want to make sure people can do and be anything they want in the city of Detroit. They don't have to go anyplace else to do it. And I don't want another artist to feel like they have to go to New York or Seattle or Austin or LA or any place else to reach their dream.
To Detroit.
Mhm.
Yes.
Stay in
That's
Detroit
so
or
exciting.
come to Detroit.
No,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
So what brought on the honors?
Yeah.
Because I mean that's long overdue.
You know, this is an interesting and sad thing for me. Charles McGhee, who was brilliant, amazing sculptor, nationally known. I was working with a group of great folks who are sort of rehabbing and developing a whole East Side neighborhood. And one of the things that they're working on is a park in his honor. And I was so excited about that project, and he died. And I said, oh my God, you know, we wanted him to have his flowers before he was gone. And I
Yeah.
said, there's a lot of people that we need to do that. So even though we'll be honoring 5 people each year, chosen by, you know, announced by the mayor, this time, because I was in a hurry to get to some folks right away, we have 14 for this first time around. And these are folks who have deserved their flowers, their pats on the back, and I did not want to wait.
I love it. That's going to be so exciting.
That's wonderful.
Can you actually go to the event, or is it going to be Zoom, or what?
You know, I never answer that question while COVID is going on, and that's why we delayed past January, just in hopes that if, you know, the numbers plateaued and people got vaccinated, we could do an in-person event in February. So look for that announcement. There will be a press release. I'll make sure everybody knows about it. I will be screaming it to the rafters. If we cannot do it in person, then we will be doing it as a film, you know, as an actual show, as a production. And I'll be able to tell you pretty soon where you can see that.
All right.
Will it on Channel 22?
Well, it will definitely be on Channel 22, but I'm hoping to be in even more places.
Okay.
Oh, that'll be
All right.
so cool.
Wonderful.
We'll
Yeah.
definitely
Wonderful.
be tuning in.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I want to slide back because you mentioned the Detroit historian. I wanted to know a little more
yeah.
detail around, well, what he'll be doing because, again, with arts and culture, you see it as like a blip. So you kind of see it, but it's hard to keep track of everything.
Right.
And you see these people appointed, but it's well, it's fascinating. You know, I really want to know exactly what he's going to be doing so the people can look forward to it.
Well, he has already been doing, Jamon Jordan, who runs the Black Scroll Network and has been taking people on history tours for years in Detroit. He has been writing, he's been giving lectures. He just had a column in the Detroit Free Press, which was amazing. His first column that's going to be in the Michigan Chronicle is going to be about a Black newspaper that had women helping to run it, like decades and decades ago, which we didn't even know about. The Detroit, I forgot the name of it. Oh, I can't believe that. I should have had that in my notes. But anyway, what he's going to do is just highlight all kinds of history that should have been a part of the history books anyway. And some of it is going to be things that people may have heard about. Some of it will be a couple of things you read in a book, but so much of it will be some of that unearthed history that we need to know. And he's going to do that through regular quarterly lectures and through columns that he'll write in different places and through presentations. And we're going to do lots with kids to make sure that they're getting some of this history. So, and he's also going to be available. People can literally schedule him through my office and try not to kill him, because as soon as we made the announcement, he got a million calls from people saying, do this, do that, look this up. And I said, no, he's not a little H historian. He's a big H historian. So he's not going to be doing a research assistant's job. He's going to be teaching us about who we are.
That's so
I love
cool.
that. I love that, especially with your. It makes me think of your architectural.
Yes.
pottery
Oh,
and
I
your
cannot
history in
wait
Detroit.
to find out. Oh,
She's been one trying to put him to work.
Like,
Oh, well, give us a call.
it's so cool. I can't wait. 'Cause Detroit has got such a rich history, and every time I find out something different, I'm going, oh my God, that is so cool. That is so cool. And I feel that people need to know about our city. Our city
I think
is amazing.
I think people are going to be stunned by the things that they learn about our city. There is so much. I mean, people typically know about how we help save the world, but we don't always talk about that to remind a new generation that we helped save the world, that we were the arsenal of democracy, that we stopped the auto plants building cars so they could build tanks and planes. All of that stuff is a part of how Detroit has played a big role globally forever. And so we want to make sure that we're doing that, but also talking about Black Bottom. I have a lot of plans for making sure we honor Black Bottom in a big way.
I love it. I love it. That's my favorite building is the Hunt Street Police Department. I love it, and I love the mural that's on the third floor. That's just an amazing area. Yes. Yes,
Did you
that's so
find
cool.
it challenging coming into this role, or really restoring arts and culture on a larger platform, especially with the wave of new people coming in and eyes on Detroit?
You know, I want to say this with all humility, and it won't sound like it, but I don't know that anybody else could have done this job except me, because I'd been a newspaper columnist for 20 years, covering the city, covering, not just covering the city, like city government, but covering the city. And when you come into a job like this where you're starting from scratch, it helps that you already know everybody. So I
Yes.
could make calls, I could do things, I could get things done. I shudder to think what would have happened with somebody either who wasn't from Detroit or who
Right.
wasn't familiar with everything, who could hit the ground running. Having said all of that, it's one of the hardest jobs I've ever had in my life because there's so much work. But because I love the job, I don't see it as work. I see it as, you know, a passion and a responsibility and a mission.
Well, we're so glad that you're on. I'm
Yes.
just so
Thank you.
excited. And I
Fitting, very
can't
fitting.
wait to find out more.
Yes.
That's really
What was the first thing on your agenda? What was your first initiative
yeah.
taking the job?
I did a listening tour around the city to all 7 districts to find out what people wanted. I only asked 2 questions. What do you have already that you love, and what do you not have that you want? And I heard from so many people that it's about space, which is stunning in a city where we have all these buildings and all this space, and support for different initiatives that they were doing. I had one of them in Old Redford, and all of these young people came out and said, we can't get into the galleries because we're young emerging artists. So that was one of the first things that I said I would make sure to do. And we had our first Young, Gifted, and Woke exhibit of their work. And Salvador Salor Pons from the DIA and the chairman of the board of the DIA came out, and the chairman bought a painting. And Salvador spoke, and all of these young artists got to meet, you know, the guy who's leading one of the major museums in the country. And we're going to be doing that again in March, the second Young, Gifted, and Woke. But then in between those two, we did one for older artists, 2 80-year-old artists who talked about their work and exhibited their work. And so that's the type of thing we're doing. It's about lifting up and elevating the genius and the brilliance and the creativity that we have in Detroit.
I love it.
Yes.
It's so
Yes.
exciting.
It just I know you keep hearing us say it's excited and wonderful.
I want people to be excited. It's exciting to me.
Genuinely, because we are artists, and then living in Detroit, Debbie is somebody, she will punch you if you talk about Detroit. Like, not
I'll be
even
like-
joking. What did you say? Look at, because there's such a, people have their own ideas of Detroit,
Right.
and especially leading up to now. Well, now there are a lot of eyes,
Yeah.
but leading up to now, people had their own ideas about Detroit. And arts and culture, we've always had this scene here. You know, we've always had this
Right,
style, and there have always been creatives here. So it's wonderful. It really is exciting and wonderful that we have someone in place that are giving us opportunities to shine,
Yes.
and we're creating opportunities for others looking in to be able to say, okay, well, what do they got going on in Detroit?
Right.
You
right,
know,
right.
we're
Yeah.
here.
We're
We
here.
really are here. We look good.
Yeah. You know, I cannot wait to see what it's going to be like. I think it's going to be fantastic.
It's wonderful.
It's
We're going to take
wonderful.
a quick moment to just remind our viewers that you're watching Get Down and Dirty Talking Art. Hey, on
Hey, we're here.
WJZZ, the coolest station in the world. We're here today with our fabulous guest, Director of Arts and Culture for the city's Arts, Culture, and Entrepreneur Department, Miss Rochelle Riley. Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you.
Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment. We can see your comments.
Yes,
So if
please
you have any
comment,
questions,
comment, and please share this thing
Yes.
with everybody you know. We want this to be the record-breaking
Oh,
show.
Lord.
Why not?
Well, Miss Riley, we did mention before that you were, are an author as well. And going into Black History Month, I kind of stalked your videos and stuff like that. But you had 2 books. Well, actually, I'll segue. One was That They Lived, which I
Mhm.
like. That was. Could you tell us a bit about That They Lived?
Absolutely. And I'll just hold it up real quick. Oops, wrong way. There we go. Just so your audience can see that cover, because that is the amazing well, let me start from the beginning. So in February of 2017, I was on Facebook. Well, I was on social media, so I was on Facebook and Twitter, and saw these amazing photographs of this little girl dressed as all these iconic Black women. And I was like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. I wonder what this is. But I didn't have time to look because I was in the throes of finishing my first book, The Burden, which Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said was one of the most comprehensive, enlightening, and thought-provoking books I've ever read on African American history. So,
Wow.
knocked me over. And
Powerful.
so because I was working on that book, I didn't pay any attention. Well, a year later, February of 2018, The Burden came out, but the photographs were back and they were gorgeous. Nikki Giovanni, Aretha Franklin, Ida B. Wells. So I went and found the woman who was posting these, Christy Smith Jones, who's a mom out in Seattle, well, outside of Seattle. And I sent her a message and said, oh my God, I love these photographs. Can you talk to me about what this is? I'm very interested in knowing, and I actually think it might make a great project. I'd love to, you know how they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I bet I got 1,000 words for each of these pictures. And she explained that it was her daughter Lola who came home from school talking about Dr. Martin Luther King and, just really soaking in this Black history. And she wanted her to know some of the women in Black history. So for 28 days, she posted one every day of Lola dressed, not just dressed, but embodying some of these women. I mean, look at Aretha.
Oh my
Look
God.
at her.
That is so fantastic.
And one of my favorites, I mean, I literally, I look sometimes at Lola and it's like, how did she know to do this? This is my favorite one, Shirley Chisholm.
Oh,
my
wow.
God.
And it's not just that she's got the dress and the earrings and the glasses, but it's the way she's holding her shoulders back. Like, yes, I'm unbought and unbossed.
How old was
And
Lola?
I said, Christy, I have to, let's do this book. And she said, oh my God, absolutely not. I said, what do you mean? And she said, I know who you are. And I couldn't do something like that. This is literally just a wonderful mom who was doing this to teach her child, very, very shy, will not do any publicity for the book. And I said, let me just try to convince you. And she said, I just don't think so. And I said, I'm coming out there. I got on a plane, flew to Seattle, got in a car and drove to Kent where she lives and took her family to lunch and talked to her about how important it was for kids to see this so they would know that every famous person was once a child. And she finally said, okay, we'll do it. And I said, well, you know what? We could do a whole encyclopedia. We can do music. We can do science. We can do business. She said, oh, I'm not doing any of that. We're doing one book. I said, well, if we're going to do just one book, then we have to make sure that we also look out for little boys. She said, okay, well, I'll do that, but we need a little boy. And I said, oh, well, I got a little boy. So I went to Dallas, grabbed my grandson, went back to Kent, and this is Caleb as Thurgood Marshall.
Marshall, look at that.
So the book wound up being for boys and girls, but also for every person 9 to 90 who needs to be reminded that all of these folks overcame amazing things. And there was a moment in their childhood where they became the people that they would be. And I want every child to be inspired by that so they know that no matter what circumstance they're in or what is going on in their lives, that they can grow up to be one of the most important people in the world.
That is powerful.
It really
Thank
is.
you.
Wow.
So my goal now is to get it in the hands of kids across the city, across the country. There was a school in Lawndale, New Jersey that just bought 240 copies to give to their elementary school. I want every school to do that. So and I have a lot of book appearances in February, with the book, but people are asking for both books. So let me go back and tell you The Burden.
Yes.
That was the book I was working on when I first saw That They Live pictures. And, that was literally the result of my being angry about something. There was a columnist for a Pittsburgh paper who said Black people need to get over slavery. It was a long time ago. It's no longer a big deal. And you're better off than if you had stayed in Africa. And that let me know two things. One, he had never been to Africa and he didn't know any Black people. So I decided that I wanted to write something. But as a columnist, which is what I was then, we got a rule, First Amendment. Everybody can say what they want, even if they're wrong. But I wrote a Facebook post and the response to it was so great that I decided, I am going to write something, but I won't just challenge him myself. I'm going to get people to talk about the ways that enslavement still continues to haunt and affect the lives of Black people. That's why it's called The Burden, African Americans and the Enduring Impact of Slavery. My first call was to my friend Leonard Pitts, Pulitzer Prize winning columnist, um, who was working on his novel. He said, I'll absolutely write something. My second call was to Nicole Hannah Jones. And this was years before the 1619 Project. And she said, I said, I need you to write the foreword. And she was working on a whole nother book. And she said, okay, I'll stop and do this. I just want to read you one little paragraph from her foreword, because it just literally portended what was to come, because this has been something she's cared about for a long time. She said, the badge of slavery wasn't our skin. It was the conditions created to demean, degrade, exploit, and control those with our skin. We have never rid ourselves of those badges, not in the 1860s, not in the 1960s, not now. We remain a nation of full citizens and part citizens, and our original sin remains the thing for which we, the people the sin was visited upon, can never be forgiven. Our very presence here reminds this great nation of all that we are not. Every time I read that, I get chills.
Wow.
This is so fitting.
It
It
is.
really just, it
Wow.
embodies, it's such a bold statement, but it really does embody what, well, I guess our experience, what was left from us, left from slavery. And it's something that we don't really discuss that often. Like you said, usually it is our skin. It is, oh,
Mhm.
we weren't, and it's not. It's a system.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm proud of both books. And one of the great moments that I had with The Burden is I was invited to speak to a group at Albion College, and I walked in and all the kids were holding copies of it because the professor made that their textbook for that semester. I was near tears. I said, I think I even took a picture, although I don't remember because I was so discombobulated, because I wanted to send it to my family and say, look at this. But
Just so proud. Oh my
thank
God.
you.
So excited and just so blown away. You know, it's powerful.
How many authors are part of the book?
Oh, that's one other thing. Okay, get ready for this. There are 23 essays in the book. And I just literally called up people and asked them to write. Alelia Bundles, Madam C.J. Walker's great granddaughter. I just asked everybody I knew. And two people turned me down. Ta-Nehisi Coates, who had just finished Between the World and Me and was going to live in Paris, and Rachel Swarms, who was doing one on how slave owners took out insurance on the enslaved and got money off of it. Just amazing stuff that she's working on. But everybody else said yes. And I got all of these essays, and I was the editor, which means I had to pull them all in. And I thought, well, I didn't tell them what to write. So I'm sure I'm going to have to tell somebody, somebody already wrote about that. Every single essay was on a different subject.
Dude, it's so cool.
Mhm.
Wow.
I didn't have to call anybody and say, oh, somebody already wrote about that, impact, or somebody already wrote about that. No, all of them were different.
So how was that? Was it emotional going through?
Knocked me off my feet. And of course, I didn't write my piece until I finished all of their pieces. So I got all of theirs edited. I got everything done. And then, of course, there's Nicole's, forward. And I'm like, oh my God, now I have to write mine. Um, it just cemented for me exactly what I thought, that people really do not understand what slavery did because we have refused to teach it. It's the greatest theft in American history, the theft of identity and the theft of that history, where as long as we don't talk about it and we don't tell people, nobody really gets how bad it was, and the fact that it still happens, the fact that it led to centuries of discrimination. So those days are over now. People can try to pretend like Black history is critical race theory and that we're not going to teach it, but we're not turning back. We're going to teach the true American history instead of the American myth.
Mhm.
It's great. I think it's important.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes. So was that your goal with writing this and bringing it to fruition?
My goal was really just to make sure people knew that when folks say it's no big deal and we need to get over it, that that's ridiculous. That literally was just to make people aware of it. My goal now is for us to work on how to fix it. So I'm working on the sequel called Laying the Burden Down, and what we need to do as African Americans to stop carrying the burden. And I do want to read one more passage. This is from the essay that I wrote after reading everybody else's essay. You got time?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh
All
please.
right.
Right, yeah.
And my essay was called, I wanted to call the book something else. And the publisher said, well, you know what? With all of these ways that people have talked about this weight that African Americans have been carrying, what do you think about the burden? And I went, Oh, yeah, that's good. But after I read this, you'll know what I originally wanted to call the book. The scene is seared into my memory. Red, just paroled from Shawshank Prison, works as a bag boy at a local grocer. He quickly packs a sack for a customer, then raises his hand to catch the manager's attention. Restroom break, boss? His white supervisor calls him over. You don't need to ask me every time you need to take a piss. Just go, understand? Red nods quickly, acquiescently. He goes into the men's room. As he stands over the urinal, his words and voiceover hang in the air. 40 years I've been asking permission to piss. I can't squeeze a drop without say so. That is what prison did to a grown man in a fictional film, The Shawshank Redemption. That is what being enslaved did to a people. There are thousands of examples in written history that detail the physical brutality of slavery. But what America must pay more attention to is the emotional brutality that boils down to a single post-slavery word that has been much a part of our living history as our flag: permission. Permission to speak, permission to vote, permission to work in jobs that allow us to use all of our talents, permission to drink from community water fountains, permission to dine at public lunch counters, permission to sit anywhere on public buses that our tax dollars pay for, permission to provide our children with educations equal to those of their white peers, permission to run for the presidency of the United States of America. We, African Americans in the United States, have spent a century and a half seeking permission, hiding our lights under bushels, accepting less than we deserve, because we have been trained to believe we don't deserve more. It is time to put that burden down.
I have to say,
Wow.
I really like permission. I love the burden, because again, it doesn't encompass everything that we
Right.
feel, but permission really does sum it up for me. I know it's the burden, but
Well, I can tell you that for the second edition of this book, my essay is going to be called Permission.
I was
And
gonna
then that way people will know what I was writing about, but all of it constitutes this burden. And it really does. It has been a burden that we have carried. It's like literally watching the enslaved put down cotton sacks and put down the pain of free labor and move someplace where you then had the burden of trying to make it in this world and in this country where nobody wanted you to succeed. I don't know how we haven't celebrated how amazing Black people are to have come where we are despite all of that.
Yeah.
So that's what Black history, I wrote this column saying we needed to get rid of Black History Month and people set their hair on fire. And I said, I'm not suggesting that we don't celebrate Black history. I'm saying do not just confine it to February.
Oh.
I want Black history all year round. So it was an interesting time and I still want that.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree. And Detroit is the place to do it.
Yes. Yes.
I agree. Oh, I'm just
Yeah.
I feel it. No, I mean it's oh goodness. I didn't realize permission. I don't know. Now it has my wheels turning.
Yeah.
That's what we've done for forever. Forever. We ask for permission to be great, permission to be in rooms, permission. I used to make, I had a judge who was a friend and he would get so angry at me. I said, one of the worst things that ever happened was the Brown versus Board of Education decision in the US Supreme Court, because we kept trying to get into the rooms where white people were instead of getting the equality that we needed. Because every time we got into a room, the room would change. Every time we tried to do something that would make us appear to be equal, there would be an effort to make sure that there was something that would keep us from being equal. And if we had literally fought, this sounds segregationist and it's not, but if we had fought for separate but equal if we wanted, then that way, if you want to be in the school, if you want to be in the classroom, that's fine. But we wanted to make sure that no matter what, every child got what they deserved. I wrote about that a lot when I was a journalist in Louisville, Kentucky, and they claimed that they had integrated their schools. And what they would do is put one Black student in a white school and say, okay, we're desegregated, and literally think that was okay.
Yeah.
So we've gone through quite a lot in this country. And I think that the whole point of Black history is to study all of the history so people can appreciate that history.
Because I don't know a lot of that, and it just like, because I love history. I'm like, wow, it's gonna make me cry.
Yeah, to cry, but it's very emotional, and I'm the same way as far as not trying to sound separatist, but I do agree that we don't have to ask for permission. And we were never really healed from that. There was no reversal. It was like, all right, you're free. Now
There you
go.
go.
Right.
There was nothing to we were already conditioned by then, and there was nothing to make it okay to be who you are,
Right.
or even acknowledge who you are.
And
Who
you
are
have to remember that it was illegal to teach the enslaved to read. So it wasn't just see you wouldn't want to be you, but okay, you don't have anything. You didn't get the 40 acres and a mule. You're not going to get education.
no.
Go forth and see what you can. And the fact that we did, that is something to celebrate every day of
Yes.
every year, all year round that we
Yes.
did.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Wow.
Wow.
So we're gonna take a fast station break.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Breathe. Goodness. Well, thank you all for watching Get Down and Dirty Talking Art on WJZZ Cool TV. Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch.
Yes.
I'm your, we're both Debbie LaPratt, Khalifa the artist. We're here today. We just literally touched on her book, The Burden. We're here today
You
with
got it.
Rochelle
You got
Riley.
it. And what was the other book's name?
That they lived, African Americans who changed the world.
They're both
And
fantastic books. I suggest everybody get a copy.
yes, yes.
Thank you.
Share
Thank
with
Where
family.
can we get those
Yes.
copies?
All you have to do is go to RochelleRiley.com and it tells you what I'm doing, not just in the city, but with my life and where you can see me on book appearances, but also how to buy both books.
Cool.
Buy both
Okay.
books.
And if people follow me on Twitter at Rochelle Riley, I always have updates. So I let people know when I'm going to be somewhere, when I'm speaking, what we're doing with arts and culture. And we also have an arts and culture Twitter account at Detroit Aces and a Facebook account, The Detroit Ace.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know that. I have to get up to date.
I'm gonna have to get up to. I'm gonna have to get on Twitter too. You
I
know.
think it's the.
Oh, yeah. Come on over to Twitter. My Twitter feed usually has smoke coming from it, but it's
I
fun.
love it. I love it. That's cool.
Oh goodness.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to sit with that for a second. I'm gonna wind up journaling tonight about it.
That's,
But also the reason why I started off with that they lived is because I thought it was appropriate that you have something that touches young people, because it is important to teach history.
yes.
It's important, and we teach them. Yes, they learn who Thurgood Marshall is in the history book, but this helps them to look at each other and identify.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you were saying that all of these people were once children.
Yes.
So
And
that
I do want to say that every single essay in That They Live begins with that moment in their childhood. For instance, this is my Caleb as Jackie Robinson.
Oh.
And I'm just going to read you the first couple of paragraphs because every essay begins the same. Jackie Roosevelt Robinson would grow up to be the first African American to play Major League Baseball in the modern era. But when Jackie was a 16-year-old high school student, he was a member of a gang. Now, when I found that out, that was something, journalists think they know everything. I never knew that. I'm like, what? My research for the book took a year, and I didn't just like go to the library. I bought all the different books and biographies and treatises that I could find to make sure I just, looked at every single aspect of their childhoods. And I didn't know that Dr. Martin Luther King had tried to kill himself when he was a teenager. I did not know that Jackie Robinson was in a gang. And I'll tell you something else, and this is one of my favorite ones, and this is my favorite picture. So this is Duke Ellington. This is my grandson as Duke Ellington. That's my favorite. His favorite picture was as Frederick Douglass because he liked all the hair and wanted to go to the movies after the photo shoot in the hair. And I said, I don't think we can do that. You can go as Thurgood Marshall. So let me just read you this about Duke Ellington. Edward Kennedy Duke Ellington would grow up to be one of the most celebrated musicians and composers in history. He is considered one of the founding fathers of American jazz. But when Edward was 15 years old, he was serving sodas at the counter at the Poodle Dog Cafe and writing his first composition called Soda Fountain Rag. And he did it before learning to read or write music.
Wow.
So I'm like, everything that blew me away, I wanted it to blow other people away. It's like, what?
You did it. You did it. It's encouraging, I think, because they get to see you, especially as a child, well, as anybody, as an adult. You
Right.
see somebody who's accomplished something and they look so far ahead of where it perceived as where
Right.
you can go.
Right. Right.
And especially as children, you look at these superstars basically, and you have to understand that they start where they start. Everybody
Right.
starts at the same place.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was in a gang, because that's even more of a story. Hey,
Blew me away.
you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can be who you're
You can
supposed
be
to
whoever
be.
you want to be.
Yes.
There's nothing
So
holding you back.
I just loved that,
Oh my God.
because
Thank you.
they're not going to have a 12-year-old and she's reading. The burden might be a little heavy for her.
I wouldn't do the burden, but I would do that they lived.
That they live.
Yeah. 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 Wow.
I'm still on the burden. I'm sorry.
Yes. Wow.
Okay, well, thank you for documenting everything, and just goodness, thank you for taking the assignment of being our director of arts and culture, because
Yes.
as you said, there couldn't have been a more appropriate person
Oh
for the
God.
job. I
Thank
really.
you.
So could you tell us a little bit about what's happening, what else for 2022? I know that I actually was just on the call yesterday for a finance workshop.
Hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you mentioned that because so when when the mayor asked me to take this, I literally got no instruction. It's like go forth and figure it out, conquer. And so I kept trying to figure out what to call the office. We were thinking about, arts and culture, which is my title, arts, culture, and education because of my, concern for children, arts, culture, and entertainment because everybody wanted to make sure that we were focused on, our music and our spoken word and all the stuff that we do in the performing arts, film, and all of it. I chose arts, culture, and entrepreneurship so that I could really focus people on the fact that we have artists who are some of the best in the world, and they're all small businesses. Some of them are big businesses, but some of them are small businesses, and we needed to treat them the same way we do restaurant owners or other people who have small businesses.
Yep.
And so when COVID hit, and all of a sudden, we lost our stages. Some people who were gig musicians lost their income. It was really really frightening. So one of the first thing we did was a telethon. We partnered with Mitch Albom and some other folks, Jeff Daniels and Big Sean, and to raise money to do rapid relief grants, where we just gave $500 grants out to people. And one of the things that I learned as I kept talking to artists in that first year, and I've been on the job 2.5 years now, that whole first year, I realized how much financial sort of training that some of our artists needed, knowing your worth, making sure that you get paid, making sure that you're promoting yourself. I went to I won't tell you where I was, but I went to a gathering of artists, and they asked me to say something because of the job. And I said, well, let me just ask a question. How many of you own your name on the World Wide Web, on the internet? And there were about 100 people in this room, and I guess 4 or 5 people raised their hands. I'm RochelleRiley.com and doohickey.com. You have to own that, because once you hit it big, somebody will buy that and then try to make you have to pay a lot of money to get it. So own your identity. The second question I asked was, okay, well, so how many people have a website? So when you meet someone, they can look at your website and see what you do. About 4 or 5 people raised their hands, and it wasn't the 4 or 5 people who own their name. So I'm like, the first thing we have to do is some training. So we started with a series of lunchtime talks where we just had people talking about these different things. And it went so well that we decided to do formal training once a month with actual folks who do this. There's an attorney who serves as a manager who is amazing. I mean, I learned from him stuff that I needed to know. There's a woman who's an expert at marketing and promotion. And we had almost 300 people to sign up for Tuesday's session. And you can see all of these at detroitmi.gov/ACE, because we keep the Zoom conversations recorded and put there. So if you couldn't make it, you can still go and watch it. And people are learning so much about how to build up themselves as a business. Business cards, making sure you've got a website, even if it's a single homepage, so people know how to reach you to buy your stuff or to book you for something. How to handle your business, whether you need a manager or not. One of the greatest things this the lawyer said was, just get somebody to handle your stuff, because that becomes your CEO, even if it's your cousin. So you're not the one who's, negotiating whatever is going on. And I said, that's an amazing bit of advice for somebody who's just starting out. So I'm very excited about those. And those are going to be going on. We partnered and contracted with someone to do them for a whole year. And they're free, totally free.
And I'm glad we can go back and watch them because I just found out about it.
Yeah.
Oh yes, you can go back and watch all of them from
Yeah.
last August up till now, and they're once a month on third Tuesdays, and they are great.
Yes. Thank you. I was like,
Yeah, I
wow.
missed that. She said free.
Yes.
Free.
Yeah, free.
I make sure I say that several times. You just come right in. It's a Zoom webinar. We can take up to 500 people. We had almost 300 people, and it's free.
It
It was
is.
great.
And
I mean, it was. I was driving,
well, it's
and I'm like,
solid
oh my
advice.
god,
Because
yeah.
I was on yesterday when he talked
So
about a
was I.
manager. And it's certain things that you hear. I love that there are different people that work in
Yes.
different aspects of a very relatable industry because you get advice that you might not consider going along with an
Right.
artist.
Right.
So I can think about a manager. You hear about that with the music artist,
Right.
but and then you have well, there were just several.
Oh, there's so much. I have to go back and listen to it again.
And the one thing that I like that he does is he breaks things down to let people know how simple things are, things that people thought were daunting, like
Yes.
forming a company.
Hmm.
You can
Yes.
form a company, and it's not a big deal.
No.
You just create an LLC.
Mhm.
It does two things. It makes sure that people pay your company, so it's not associated with your personal finances. But you don't have to give your social security number to somebody. You give them your tax ID number for your company. That
Yeah.
protects your identity. So there are lots of reasons to do things beyond just being a good entrepreneur and a good business person to make sure that your business succeeds. It's some of those things are just safe.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and it's things that artists need to hear and
Artist
create the
and
work.
anybody, entrepreneurs, anything, but
Well,
really the
entrepreneurs
artists
Oh
too.
yeah.
are very,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
They just focus on their work, and that's all they do. They don't know how to go out and do anything else.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very good. I was like,
yes.
yeah, okay.
So your Tuesday, is it at the same time?
Yes, 6 o'clock on the third Tuesday. And if you go to detroitmi.gov/ACE, it has the whole list of what's coming up. So you know which session, if there's a particular one that you like more than others, I would suggest that you listen to them all or try to come to all of them. But um, you can pick and choose if you like.
I would suggest as well. I will second that you viewers listen to them all
I think listen to
because
them all, then you
there's
can go back.
tidbits that you get that you
Yes,
may not expect to get from it. So you never know what you're gonna miss.
that's
I
right.
suggest if you have time, it's a Zoom, they're talking, even if you set it down and you just listen, take notes, do what you're gonna do. But I really suggest that if you
Yes.
have some free
And it's
time.
only an hour to change your life.
Yeah.
Exactly, 1 hour.
You
One
can
and the
listen to it.
information, I mean, it might as well have gone on for 3 hours
Oh, I
because
could
it
have listened
was
to it another all night last night. I'm like, oh my God, it was so helpful. It really
yes,
was,
yes. Okay, so also I would like to ask about I know that the city of Detroit is starting up where government contracts, where artists are able to get government contracts.
Thank you for asking about that. So that's the other thing I learned from artists that they didn't know when things were happening so that they could have an opportunity to participate. And because our whole goal now is for everybody to take part in what we're doing, I partnered with our contracting and procurement department to have a artist vendor fair where we had artists come. We had over 100 artists to sign up to come out and register and do the paperwork so that their vendors, their official, potential contractors, which means anytime an RFP goes out, it goes to them too. So if something is going on that's artistic, they can bid just like anybody else. So I think one of the ways that's going to help so much is to make sure that we are evening the playing field and making sure there's equal opportunity for folks to do things so that you don't see that the same people are doing the same thing or getting the same gigs all the time.
Right. Cleaver and I were both there. Just, you know,
We were, and my experience with it was I loved how you simplified the process,
yes.
especially with working with government contracts, and even throwing a tidbit that there could be opportunities for federal as well.
Hmm.
That can be so intimidating for an
Yeah.
artist. Well, for anybody, any entrepreneur, it can be intimidating. And you broke down, literally, you got a sheet with everything that you needed. Everyone came out, you worked, you walked through, they walked you through. What do you need? What do you need? Well, here's what you should do. Here's what you should
Hmm.
do. Here's what you qualify for. And for artists, well, creatives, period, I'll say, entrepreneurs, period. You might be, but especially artists, you might you might make money in one field, but we're traditionally selling to collectors or different
Hmm.
people that love
Yes,
arts.
exactly.
But you might do something that's landscape, and you might have a whole nother business that you don't consider well, you separate.
Yeah.
This is an opportunity to move that business forward. If you're doing business that way, to move that business forward and have those contracts with the city. And what contracts do is it's regular money.
Yeah.
It's money.
Yeah.
It's
And
guaranteed.
the other thing that happens is, even if you're an artist and that's what you're focused on, if you have some other talent that you just don't even think about, you'll see an RFP and go, oh, wait a minute, I can do that. And then all of a sudden you've got other income coming in that also helps you to focus on your art, because you don't have to worry about being out trying to sell this piece while you're trying to paint this piece, or you can take this gig because you don't have to take a full-time job to do something and put food on the table and not be able to sing or to compose or to dance. So the goal is to just make sure people are aware of everything that's possible. The other thing we want to do is make sure we get all of our creatives on a database. We've got almost 1,000 artists and creatives on our ACE database. So every time we hear of anything, because you mentioned federal grants, we get notified about federal grants all the time. So what we do is try to figure out who that might help and get them connected and write a letter of support. Well, there may be somebody I don't know. If we can send that out to everybody, then everybody can see, oh, wait, there's some money.
Mhm. I love it.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So make sure you get on the database.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Going home tonight and doing that.
Oh, will there be any other vendor fairs for artists that may have missed the first one?
Well, I don't know that we actually need it, because let me tell you how great our contracting and procurement department is. They are working on a flyer that explains the office hours they're going to have now, so that anybody who wants to do it can come and work with them directly to do that. So you don't have to come in to a big fair with 100 people. You can just sit down with Miss Patterson and her team, and they'll do it that way for you. And they're going to have regular, they call it office hours. They're going to have regular office hours to make sure artists can do their paperwork and get on the list.
Yes, that's wonderful.
And where would they get to find that information? And also on the um that information that you just talked
Well,
about.
we're going to be putting that on that same at detroitmi.gov/ACE. They're working up that procedure now. We'll be sending out a press release about it. We'll be sending it to that database, that important database. Everybody who we connect with, they get all the information, and we'll also put it on the website.
Okay. And
Great.
we'll have it on our page as well. We'll
Right.
make sure to
Thank you. That would be great.
Because it's important. That's the artist's number one thing, is making money, getting paid.
That's
right.
it.
That's
And
right.
this helps you not only to get paid, but to be a more efficient business
And just get
person.
your name out there. So
Well,
people-
but
yeah,
again,
and
to be, because you
to be
can't be
rec-
sloppy. If you're looking for government contracts, you can't be
No.
sloppy.
That's right.
It gets you professional. It gets you polished. It gets you into the mindset of doing business
Mhm.
with your artwork on a
Right. Big time.
you're
basis.
running with
Yeah.
the big leagues. Well, we just want to hold that thought and remind our viewers that you're watching Get Down and Dirty Talking Art
Yes.
with Galibra the Artist.
And Debbie LaFrette, the artist. Wonderful guests. We're so excited. Oh my gosh. We're honored to have you.
Yes, Miss
I'm
Rochelle,
thrilled to be here. Thank you.
of Arts, Culture, and Entrepreneurship. We're talking about opportunities for artists. If you're commenting, I apologize. I need some glasses on.
Right. We can't read them. Yeah.
And I'm not wearing mine, so I can't help you a bit.
Wait, Derek. I'm sorry, our engineer. Hello, Regina Smith. Hello, Regina Smith's been touring on for a couple weeks now. Hello, Miss Smith.
Hi, Regina.
Hi.
Oh, I can read that. It says, could you please put this in the chat?
Well, you put it on the page.
We'll put it
Follow
on the
Get
page.
Down and Dirty Talking Art, and we'll
We'll
keep
put
everything
everything on-
updated on the page. We'll
Right.
put it on the page. I'm sorry, I don't like to have the clutter.
Right.
on things, so I don't
Right.
talk
We
about
don't
it.
take away time.
We
We'll
on
do it.
TV. We're not putting stuff in the chat.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Riley, it's been a
Oh my
pleasure having
God.
you.
Yes.
Is there any? Well, we already plugged Ace.
Right.
We've
We're gonna
already
plug it
plugged
all.
Ace on Facebook, Ace on Twitter, Ace on the website,
And then her books.
DetroitMichigan.gov. Everything on Ace.
Yes.
RochelleRiley.com.
Yes. And her two amazing books. And
You have-
everything coming up in the next month with everything. And-
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Could you please? Is there anything that any positive notes? We usually like to wrap up on a positive note. So anything that you would like to share to, I guess your younger self, or just whatever, a positive note.
Oh my God. My younger self could have learned so much from myself now.
Okay.
Um, but I was sharing something. I don't know if I can get to it. I was sharing something a little while ago. Um, because we did not do this for almost 20 years, I know that people got discouraged and may not have thought that the city cared. I am so thrilled to see the difference now in people being excited that the city cares. And I just want to say that with COVID going on, I don't want anybody to think that that's going to affect either my commitment or the work we're going to try to do for artists. And if you ever are feeling a little discouraged, I just tweeted this out. It says, when someone lets you down, you don't have to stay there.
That is a true statement.
So just know that we are committed to this. I am committed to this. We are going to be setting up something. Like I said, my first job is to make sure the city is never again without an Office of Arts and Culture. My second is to make sure that people know just how amazing our creative workforce is. I'm talking about elevating in a way so that, people talk about Detroit now anyway, but the challenge is we don't have people locally who understand it. We need to see us. They see us, but we need to see us and be proud. And the last thing is just to make sure that we are having some fun all over the city. Wherever you are, wherever you live, I want you to be able to participate in the cultural genius and experience and creativity that is Detroit.
So amazing.
Yes. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was my honor.
Yes.
This is absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
And
we're gonna ask her one more thing, and I can't remember what it was.
What was that?
The 2 questions.
Oh yeah, right as well. Well, she doesn't do art.
Yeah. Well, she does.
We have this thing where we do why art.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first question is why art? Well, I guess that's the first and second. Yeah. Why art?
And my answer would be why air?
There you go. There you go.
Very perfect. Yes.
We have survived the pandemic because of art, music, dance, all the things that sustained us. Why not?
That's right.
It is, it is a part of who we are, how we live, and how we breathe. So.
Oh my God. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of Detroit for all of us, for everybody.
And everything that you do to help.
You owe Miss Riley a huge round of applause.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can't
Thank
wait
you so much.
Coming. We're very much excited.
Stay tuned. Big news coming.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is another wonderful episode of Get Down and Dirty Talking Art with Calibri the Artist.
And Debbie LaPrette the Artist. Right. Thank you all.
We encourage you to tune in every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Next week, we have Bryce Tubbs on. He'll be talking about more business, more money, how to sell art. Yeah. So tune in. Yes. All right. We'll have a wonderful night.
Yes.
You got a lot to do.
Yes. We look forward to seeing you again.
All righty.
You have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Okay, I think we got a few more minutes.
No, we can leave. It can be.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a show.
Yeah.
What a show.